All right, let's talk about a department everyone thinks they know, human resources. But trust me, it's not just about paperwork. We're going to uncover this incredible story of how HR evolved from a simple timekeeper all the way to a strategic partner. And it all happened because they had to solve the biggest problems businesses have ever faced.
Yeah? What does HR really do? You've probably asked yourself that, right? I mean, is it just about hiring, firing, and mountains of paperwork? Well, the real answer? It's way more complex and honestly a lot more interesting than you might think. See, the story of HR isn't just about, administrative tasks. It's this epic tale of factory floors, huge psychological breakthroughs, and some serious boardroom strategy. It's a story of constant problem solving. So let's dive right in.
Okay, so before we jump into the whole history of it, let's just make sure we're on the same page with a couple of key terms. It'll make everything else make a lot more sense.
First up, human resources. Sounds kind of corporate, right? But at its core, it's simple. It's the people. It's you, it's your coworkers, anyone and everyone who's paid to get a job done for a company. Okay, so if human resources are the people, then human resource management, or HRM, is the whole system for, well, managing those people. It's all the stuff you do to make sure that workforce is qualified, motivated, and actually helping the company succeed. Got it? Good. Now let's travel back to where this whole idea even came from. Our story begins way back in the early 1900s. Picture a noisy, bustling factory floor. The number one problem back then wasn't employee happiness or engagement. No. It was all about one thing: pure, raw efficiency.
You can really see how our whole approach to managing people has changed over time. It's gone through these huge shifts. We're going to walk through each one, starting with this idea called scientific management.
So this was really the first time anyone tried to study management like a science. The goal was super simple. Take every single job, break it down into tiny little pieces, and figure out the one single best way to do it. They were basically trying to make human workers as predictable and efficient as the machines they were operating.
Yeah, the focus was 100% on the task, not the person. The whole idea was that workers were just interchangeable cogs in a giant machine. Your feelings, your ideas, totally irrelevant. All that mattered was how much you produced. But as you can probably guess, this whole approach, it backfired. It created a totally new problem. Turns out, treating people like machines isn't a great long-term strategy. Shocker, I know. A kind of revolution was brewing, one that was about to flip the whole world of management on its head. Yeah, a new problem popped up. This obsession with efficiency completely ignored the human element. Productivity started to tank, and managers had to face a pretty obvious truth. You can't just ignore the fact that your workers are, actual human beings. And that simple realization, it sparked a complete revolution.
And the change was just massive. You can see it right here. The focus went from the job to the person, from just maximizing efficiency to actually trying to figure out what motivates people. Workers weren't just tools anymore. They were seen as real assets.
A lot of this new thinking was kicked off by something called the Hawthorne studies. Researchers went into a factory and they found that productivity went up, not because of changes to the lighting or anything like that, but just because someone was paying attention to the workers. I mean, what a discovery, right? This blew the doors wide open for psychology to come into the workplace. You had guys like Abraham Maslow talking about his hierarchy of needs, proving that people are motivated by more than just a paycheck. It totally changed the game.
Okay, so we've made this huge leap. We went from treating people like machines to, well, treating them like actual people. But the next massive evolution wasn't about psychology. This time, it was driven by the law.
And in 1964, just everything changed. And I'm not talking about a slow, gradual shift here. This was like an earthquake that completely redefined the role of HR pretty much overnight. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 made workplace discrimination illegal, period. All of a sudden, every decision about hiring, promotions, pay, everything was under a massive legal microscope. The HR department, or the personnel department as it was usually called back then, couldn't just be a simple hiring office anymore. Nope, they became the company's legal guardian. They needed a whole new level of expertise in law and ethics just to keep the company out of trouble. And that brings us to the modern era, where HR has become a true strategic partner. Because let's face it, the world of work today is unbelievably complex. The problems HR has to solve now go way beyond just efficiency or legal compliance. Now, it's all about strategy.
I mean, just think about the challenges that companies are dealing with right now. You've got intense competition from all over the globe. You've got the rise of knowledge workers, people whose main asset is what's in their head. And you have to navigate these incredibly complex social issues like the #MeToo movement or the pressure for companies to be more socially responsible. These are not simple paperwork problems. These are huge strategic challenges.
So today's HR really has 4 big missions, and they're all connected. First, they've got to help the organization compete. Second, they need to enhance productivity and quality. Third, of course, they still have to handle all the legal and social rules. And fourth, they're responsible for promoting the growth and development of every single person in the company. And really, this is the key takeaway. When it's done right, HR isn't just a cost center. Properly managed human resources can actually be a company's biggest competitive advantage. Think about it. The ability to find, grow, and keep the best people, that is literally what separates the winners from everyone else.
So there you have it. What a journey, right? From a simple timekeeper, to a counselor, to a legal guardian, and now, finally, to a strategic partner who has a real seat at the table where the big decisions get made.
But the story's not over. Not by a long shot. With things like AI totally reshaping jobs and remote work changing what the workplace even means, the next huge problem is already on our doorstep. So the big question we're left with is, what will HR's next great evolution be?